My students can find dozens of trades intraday, but we can't force dozens of swing trades. They don't form that frequent. It can't because the higher time frames are what they are. So if you like frequency and to be able to have velocity in your money, you short-term trade intraday. You have no overnight risk, no gap risk. What's gap risk? The difference between where we close at 5 p.m. and where we open at 6 p.m. Where we close on Friday and where we open on Sunday. That's gap risk. In years before, I didn't mind holding over the weekend. I didn't mind holding overnight. I don't do that anymore. I will never do that in the future. I don't trust what can happen. They can do some crazy nonsensical thing and all kinds of manual intervention comes in because of something happening in the world where one country doesn't like what another country is doing. And an event that may or may not be foreseeable occurs and you're wiped out. A black swan event that we're in those conditions still, and it's getting more and more likely. All these factors make trading much harder. And I know there's competitors out there that like to sell their crap and they like to use me as a sounding board to be able to say, okay, for the people that don't like ICT, come over to my house. I got this and I got that, and I can do this and I got cookies. Go over there. I'm not saying don't do that. Go over there. Whoever's trying to get your attention, if you're not happy here, if you're not finding what it is you're looking for here, go do something else. Really do it. You might find something that works for you. I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying my stuff is superior to everybody else's. And it might still not be effective for you because you have whatever going on in your head. And if they have something that is useful, that it makes a connection with you as a trader and it helps you find profitability, great. Don't let me be an impediment to that. I'm never an impediment. But if you find profitability, don't come back and try to throw rocks at me and say, you asshole, you didn't teach me this stuff over here. So, I hate you. Whatever. I'm happy that you're making money. That's what this is all about, man. This is it. I want all of you, even the folks that hate me, even the folks that can't find success in marketing their own stuff. I want all of you to do well because I know what's coming. I've known it. I knew they've been following me for a long time, have known that I've been saying this was going to come. Even when we were in good times, I told you it was coming. And it feels like, oh, maybe it's getting better. It ain't getting better. They're just changing the way it looks because they have a lot more progress to make over the next 18 months. Central bank digital currencies are coming. Your money is about to change and turn into something that you don't recognize. And it will have an on and off switch. You don't perform or behave the way they want you to do, you can't spend your money the way you want to spend it. And they're going to get control of everybody like that. Because you can say, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to resist until they turn your food purchasing power off and you have children that are starving. Then suddenly everything else that you've said in the past is going to mean nothing because you're going to make sure your family's fed. Like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I'm doing whatever I can to have a clear conscience that if it's feasible for us, there's nothing guaranteeing that trading is going to be accessible like it is right now. These funded accounts, regulation can come in, change all that. Or it could be permitting it and then allow that type of thing and be regulated. Or we could have something happen where it disrupts the markets for a while. Imagine just for a second, and in closing, I want you to think about something here. If someone were to told you that the whole world was going to come to a screeching halt over something that was invisible, had the ability to kill you if you stood up in a restaurant, but it was okay for you to sit down in a restaurant. So it was only effective at certain heights while in a restaurant. That the event, okay, that startled everybody into thinking the end of the world was, right here upon us, and we're all going to die from some plague. And every global industry came to a screeching halt. You couldn't travel, you can't go anywhere, you can't do this, can't do that. If someone would have told you that was going to happen a year before, 2 years before, and that we wouldn't be allowed to see people at funerals that we loved, we couldn't visit them in the hospital, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't even go to work unless you had this remedy, they said, you all would have laughed and said, there's no way in the world, no way in the world this would ever happen. And yet it did. The damage that has done, we're just now coming to grips with it. And you're seeing banks failing. You're seeing financial institutions that they're going to go out of business. Big names are going to go out of business. All this stuff is designed. And it's not outside of the realm of potentially possible that we could have some kind of major disruption to our financial industry in the form of investing, 401k. I've always said that the 401k is a perfect little, it's like a big stop loss. It's a liquidity pool that they're going to raid. Think about it. All these people out here that have contributed to their 401 life savings in their 401. That's a big pocket of money that's sitting out there collectively across a lot of people's, you know, retirement accounts. It may not be individually a large amount of money. For some it is, but not a lot of people have millions of dollars in their 401k. But what happens if they have like 100,000 or 150,000 and do that over millions of people, hundreds of millions of people to have their retirement account they've been investing in, the company they worked for invested in with them? We have a unpayable debt. We can't pay that. Okay. If you knew how much it would take for every individual person in our country to pay that on that debt, it's shocking. And they're going to raise the debt ceiling again. And you keep calling it a debt ceiling, and it keeps getting moved up. It's not a debt ceiling. But they are absolutely going to bankrupt our country to the point where there is nothing. Money won't have the same value that it has right now. And I've told you last year, okay, for the folks that have been coming to these Twitter spaces, I told you last year, watch Saudi Arabia. Watch all the other countries. You know we're in some deep shit if everybody starts turning away from the dollar. And here we are. Months later, in spring, like I told you, April or May, you'll start seeing it. There it is. It's happening. It's unfolding exactly as I told you it would. In 2016, before Trump was elected, and I had never voted ever in my life, and I was not a Trumper. I'm not someone that falls in line with this Hegelian dialect. It's an illusion of choice. You think you have a choice. You don't. They're all players in this theater. The whole world's a stage, and money is a control mechanism. Where it used to be a tool, now it's a control mechanism. We're going to be told what we can and can't do because our money will be the control catalyst. Think about it. If it's a central bank digital currency, you can't get mad at the establishment and say, man, F you, I'm going to the bank and keep my money out and sticking it in mason jars and putting it in my backyard. Because cash ain't going to be there. It's going to be a digit that they can turn on and turn off. So how are you going to fight against that? You can't, which is the reason why they're doing it. We want to put everybody in a system where they can access resources that everybody else has. They're going to sugarcoat everything, every excuse as to why everybody has to have this new digital ID. They're going to have all these new things that locks your money up, and you can't ever take it away from them. When all your real money, they have it. The bank owns that money. Everything that I have in the bank isn't technically mine until I have it in my hands. And it's going to a cashless system. I told you all this stuff years and years ago, and we're seeing it. And it's not just in America, it's every country that's going to roll out a central bank digital currency. And yeah, and South Africa said, well, we're resisting it. You're resisting it for a little while, but it's going to happen whether you like it or not. It's going to happen, folks. It's happening. They're going to be able to stop everybody from protesting because food and money will be controlled. And I don't know all the answers. I don't even know if you being successful as a trader will be enough for some of you. But it's the only thing I can do to feel like I'm doing something positive and not have a guilty conscience. And I'm not exempt. And anybody else out there that has money is not exempt from this. And I am very controversial in the things I talk about. And the more time I spend on social media, the more likely I'm going to say something that's more controversial. And they're going to be adopting a social credit score. Just like in China, that's what's coming here in America. And it's going to come to your neighborhood and your state and your country. It's going to be there, whether you're Republican or not. It's happening regardless. You can't stop it. It's going to happen. So I'm going to be removing myself. I'm trying to get through this year. I'm hoping that I do have the time to get through to November. But I need to take care of my own house. I need to take care of my own family, my own friends. My attention is going to be needed when all this stuff gets really fever pitched. My family members are going to be stressed out. And if my attention is diverted to all of you doing things that it's not necessary for me to do these things, I don't need to do these things. I'm doing it because I want to have a clear conscience when everything's going on and it's knee deep and it's hard for me and all of you. Me having a lot of money in a bank doesn't exempt me from them controlling what we do and how I live my own personal life. If I'm on social media and I say the things I'm saying right now, well, I'm not saying, resist and do this and do that because I don't think that you're not going to stop it. That's my point. You're not going to stop it. And people that think that they can vote their way out of this stuff, you're not voting anything out of anything. Any person that ever gets in leadership now, they're all part of the World Economic Forum. They're all selected. It's been like that since Reagan. You just didn't know about it. I mean, it's the reality of it all. And it may sound dismal. It may sound, why even bother trading? Because I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And you would cheat yourself out of a lifestyle that, could be great if ICT is wrong. And I hope I am. I hope I'm wrong. I have not been wrong all throughout all this stuff, before COVID, all this stuff. On Twitter, before I left it in 2019, I said, we are walking into something wicked. Something really wicked is coming. And I saw what was going on over in China. And again, in October, I told you in 2019, I said, man, get ready. Something weird is coming, and it's going to be worse than 9/11 and September 11th when they grounded all the airplanes globally. Everything changes then. The world hasn't been the same since 2011. When I say in 2011, 2001, September 11th, 2001. That day started all this. Everything changed that date. The world slowly started changing. In the world prior to 2001, when the World Trade Center buildings collapsed, that has never been the same. And we're never going back to that. We're not going back to the way it was in 2019. We're going into a world that is very closely identified with that book, 1984, which is why I told everybody years ago, read it. And you'll start recognizing where we are and where we're heading, and we're heading there. So having another way of making money is a good endeavor, I think. That's the only way I think you can prepare for it. Learn how to grow your own food, be self-reliant. And if you live in cities like that, it's probably going to be very difficult. So hopefully you have enough time to change your lifestyle to get yourself out of those cities. go into a little bit different, a rural setting, away from the congestion of city life, because that's where there's going to be a lot of crime, a lot of violence. It's going to be unsafe there, and things are going to change from a industry standard across all industries. They're going to be reducing the necessity for people. And what you don't realize is when they told everybody to go home and work from home, they were beta testing a lot of things that were being ran without people being on site. So a lot of the jobs are going to fall away. I mean, even look at McDonald's. They poison you with that garbage. You drive through and you pay too much for poison. They're moving to restaurants that only have one person in them, and they're all basically robot driven. Sounds like the Jetsons, right? Cartoon from the 80s. Think about toll booths when you were driving before. You go through toll booth and you get the people that you would give the money to, and they let you go through, go across the bridge or go through a section of town or a specific highway. They ain't there anymore, are they? I didn't think about that until I was driving down to Florida. I was thinking to myself, wonder what those people are doing today that used to be in those toll booths. And what are they doing now? And every industry is being shook up because they're preparing for less people. Less people, less headache. You don't have to pay health insurance for them. You don't have to have any kind of, you know, extra this or extra that, and they never call out of work. They never go on maternity leave. So people, from a business owner's perspective, is a need right now, but there's a massive move for people not to be needed. They want artificial intelligence, they want automation, and that is going to make you redundant. You're talking about taking away natural gas hookups in New York, madness. They're talking about no diesel engines in California, madness. Like these things are all eventually coming to. Oh, well, look what happened. The Dutch, the governments are buying out the farmers out there for 100 or 120% of whatever the value is. Why? Food is going to be controlled. You guys were laughing at me years ago when I was talking about it, but you got to take a step back and look at everything they're doing. Cow farts are not going to change the atmosphere. Okay. That's what they're saying. We can't have too many cows. Can't have too many cows. I probably should have warned you when we were transitioning into the tinfoil. Some of you are like, what the hell does this have to do with trading? It has everything to do with it because it's going to be in your house. All these things are going to be impacting you. It's going to impact your life. It's going to impact how you live, what you pay for, what you can acquire, how you feed your children, yourself, if you don't have children. All these things are going to be major impacts in your life, whether you choose to believe it right now or not. It's going to be an impactful event. And you got to prepare yourself, make yourself ready, make your house ready. Non-perishable foods, a way for you to, grow your own food. And it may not be feasible, but you got to do whatever you can, right? What's the point of making all this money if you're just riding around in Lamborghinis? Lamborghini ain't going to feed you. Lamborghini isn't going to. If everybody is paying attention, they're trying to put, laws in place that no combustion engines are going to be made after 2025, and in 2030, everything should be electric. Meanwhile, the batteries in these things, what do you do with them when they're no longer any good? You can't just recycle them. They're not all this green stuff that everybody talks about. Look at windmill blades. They're burying them and they never disintegrate. Does that sound like a good use of resources? It's all lies. All this stuff, everything you're told is a lie. Everything about the market you've been learning from all these books and writers and teachers and things that they talk about on the news, it's all lies. You're being lied to. You're being manipulated. You're being controlled by misinformation. And having a lot of money in a world that's changing to this degree might not be enough. And that's my concern. I'm not sleepless at nighttime over it. My faith isn't in money. I've been poor before, and I don't care. I know how to fish. I know how to cook. I know how to do all those types of things. I don't need to live on filet mignon. I don't really eat it much. But the point is, I don't need to have a high jet set life. I don't need to have that. For some of you that's never had it, you want it so bad, you're willing to do whatever shortcut there is. But I'm talking about things that you might not be aware of because when it starts happening, it might scare you. It might make you stressed out, and scared or stressful mindsets can't trade efficiently. You'll be consumed with this in terms of anxiety. So if you're told about it in advance and you can make your house ready as best you can, I'm hoping, and this is the only reason why I'm talking about it, I'm not trying to scare anybody. It's not meant to be fear mongering. It's meant for you to just prepare for it. However you feel that you can and how you can, that's all I'm and trying to inspire in you. I'm not telling you to resist or go riot at your presidential palace or White House or whatever, because that stuff isn't going to do anything. That's not going to do nothing. It's going to get you in trouble, and that's what you want to avoid. Rising up or insurrections and things, that's what they want. They want that to happen. They want that very thing to happen because that's going to allow them to usher in more control measures with finances and civil control mechanisms. You can't do this, you can't do that. You can only go outside at this time. Down in Baltimore, I don't live in Baltimore. I've never lived in Baltimore, but locally, they have a curfew. If you're this age, you can't be out past this time. If you're this age, you got to be home by this time unless you're going to work. Really? You are you going to be comfortable with that? You can go outside at this time, but not this time. It's like we're in a weird science fiction movie that keeps getting worse. And just because the World Health Organization, WHO, removed the COVID restrictions, and now they say there's no more pandemic, um, there wasn't a pandemic. You know, they had ran a beta test on things to see how far they can get things done, and now they have conditioned. There's people still driving around in cars with the windows up, with masks on, and that's a unfortunate thing. I look at my wife all the time, and she sees it too, and she's like, they watch the news, and it scares them. And they're not old. I can understand an elderly person thinking, okay, you know, I can't afford to catch anything. You know, it is what it is. I understand that. These people are young, and your mind is a battlefield, and they're coming at you with everything now. War, rumors of war. They're going to invade. What happens if this and what happens if that? They're trying to scare you with weather balloons. Oh, there's a balloon flying over top of the country. Look, you think China or any other country would use a balloon to navigate and take pictures of? They can do that with satellites. They got there's so many. There's like 30,000 satellites above our planet right now. You think they can't scan through and see what we have in terms of military bases and how much artillery we have this there? That balloon stuff, it was just a distraction. Watch what they do with that information. It's going to come back up again. You're going to see more of that silliness. Oh, we shot down an unidentified object. Oh, yeah? Right away, everybody's thinking it's ET, some UFO. Like they're literally wearing us down with all this nonsense, constantly keeping you distracted while they're bankrupting every country's currency to usher in a digital currency where they have complete control of you, how you spend your money, where you spend your money. And if you don't listen to them and comply, they just turn it off. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if they do that? What kind of response are you going to have for it? You're going to get angry. You're going to go on social media and complain, and then they're going to do what? Affect your social credit score because you did that too. It's a way of taking away free speech. It's a way of controlling people. And guess what? There's nothing you or I are going to be able to do to stop that. There's nothing, zero, that you're going to be able to do to stop it. So losing control of yourself emotionally over it, either by fear about it right now or getting angry when it happens, You have to find a way to stay in control of yourself and shut your mouth. Not because you're licking the boots, but because why make a target of yourself? Especially if you have kids. If you have children, if you have a family that's depending on you, I don't want to have any more than what's already going to come. And I don't hold back what I think. I say what I think, and it is what it is. So if I remain on social media, all I'm going to do is put a target on myself and just look around, see what they're doing, people. I don't, I've always been controversial in trading, but I don't want to be a reason for people to feel like they got to reach out and touch me and upset my family life, my personal life. I've already had enough intrusions in that from goobers. But the world's changing, folks. It's changed 20 years ago. You just haven't recognized it because the progression was very, very slow. Small incremental movements. It's not perceived by the average person because they keep you distracted with the football games and all the sporting events and all the drama and keeping up with the Kardashians, giving you all things dramatized over about other people, not recognizing that your world slowly becomes smaller and smaller, and it's about to become even smaller. Big population reduction. That's their plan. So anyway, it probably doesn't feel like a, a good way to end a Twitter space, but these are all things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about these things while I was driving. I have a headset that I could have been talking while I was driving, and it would have been completely legal and undistracted driving. But I wanted to talk about all that stuff and put it on a SoundCloud, but just haven't had an opportunity to do so. So I included it here. Those individuals that were not interested in this kind of stuff, they probably already turned off the Twitter space or they're unsubscribing me and whatever. It doesn't matter. It ain't going to stop it. But I tell you these things, and I'm not making any money here. Okay. There's no ads running, there's no monetization. And if you choose never to come back because you heard something that scared you or think I'm trying to push some kind of fear mongering thing on you, don't come back. I'm telling you these things that way you can get you and your household prepared the best way you can. And let it also be an inspiration for you to learn how to do this. Treat it like a business because it's going to get harder for everyone. I have a lot of money, and having a lot of money is not going to exempt me from what is coming. It just makes it much more important that I don't talk about the things that I talk about in public forums like this. I'll be deplatformed, and there it is. So if my YouTube channel goes down, or they take the Twitter account down, or if I put a SoundCloud out on that SoundCloud account and it talks about these things like this and they take it down, then what I've said was absolutely true. And there it is. I won't come back up with another platform to try to be a backup system. I'll just take that as okay. I don't need any more reminder. It is what it is. I've already said all these things anyway, but I'm just trying to be a voice of reason to keep you encouraged to keep doing what you're doing. That's all. I mean, it's easy to feel complacent about going to work every day and thinking that that's that's the American dream. You're getting your bills paid. You're just eking through life, and you can make your mortgage or your rent payment. And this is like a distraction to all that stuff. Listening to me, or pretending that you're going to eventually be profitable in trading. And that's not what I want you to do. I want you to learn how to do this as a means of secondary or primary income to help fortify, and put in place the things that you would like to have to make existence comfortable and more bearable because times are going to get harder. You know, doing away with natural gas hookups in New York and banning all diesel engines in California, you know, whether you realize it or not, the things that start in these very, very liberal states eventually find their way into other states, even red states. They may be kicking and screaming and say that's never going to happen here, but it will. They do away with grocery bags. When you go to the store and there's plastic bags, that's it. We're not going to do them anymore. So you got to go out and buy your own totes. We do that anyway because I I don't want all those plastic bags in my home. So we buy the reusable nylon. You fold up real small and keep them in your car. When you go to the store, you take them out and you bring your groceries home or whatever it is you bought, and then you have it to be reused. Or they charge you for a bag in the stores. Like if you go to Wegmans here in Maryland, I don't know if they have Wegmans in other states. It's just the store we like to go to. I like their food and like how they do their store, but they don't give you bags unless you pay for them, which it's not a big deal. I mean, I could pay for bags for for everybody, but the point is, it started in California and it's moved across to other states, and it will all eventually be no natural gas, no wood burning stoves, no diesel engines, no combustible engines. It'll all be green, all electric, and they can all be turned off when they want them to be turned off. Think about it. I saw a video clip short this morning. I was eating something before I came on. It was a short little clip of a guy talking about how a Hellcat, you probably already seen this little short, but the Hellcat, the guy's describing how if someone's going to carjack or steal your car, you push this little button on your remote, your key fob for your car, and then they can start the car up, but the gas pedal doesn't work. Okay, they're going to smash the car. They couldn't steal it, so they're going to smash it all up. But think about the technology they had there. It'll start, but you're going nowhere. Imagine a world where your social credit score can affect you being able to do that too. They may allow you to drive to and fro to work in your electric vehicle, but on the weekends, they turn off access to it. You don't think it can happen? Look what they've done in China. They tell their people you can't even leave the house because you've done something that they didn't like. That's what's coming everywhere. Everywhere it's going to be like that. That's the goal. It may not be successful in the next year or two, but that's where they're aiming. They're aiming for that before 2030. And that sounds nuts, doesn't it? It sounds insane. And because I'm a person that is prone to say things and not think about the ramifications of it, because I have a heart. I don't want any of you going through anything unpleasant, and I'm sharing my life and my time and my resources and my experience with you in hopes that you'll be able to live a better life and present a better life to your children. That to me is motivation, why I do it. And I'm talking to you in a medium that I don't make any money with. And I do that because I want you to trust what I'm saying is only inspired because I want to do well with you and for you, so that way you can do what you're not really equipped to do otherwise. And maybe if I'm wrong, hopefully I am. None of these things happen, and you live a better life, and your children live a better life because you pass on this information to them. That to me is a rewarding life. That to me is a purpose-driven life. That gives me a sense of accomplishment. Better than making money in the marketplace. Okay, better than being recognized in the industry as this guy or that guy. I want to be remembered as this person talking to you, the person that is investing his time and resources and time teaching you how to do things to be a better person, to equip yourself and your family to not go through as much discomfort as the average person will in the coming years, because it's going to get stupid. Like it's going to get really stupid. And I don't have answers for all of it. I've racked my brain for years, all through the COVID crap and stuff. Like I was trying to come up with, ways to navigate all of it, and what would be an exemption for me to do this or do that. And, I've contemplated, moving to other countries. I wanted to go to Ireland, and then Ireland started acting up and doing some silly stuff. I was like, I ain't going there. So it came painfully obvious that it's not going to be a place where I can go. There's no place that you're going to be able to go that is exempt from it. And now, because of Saudi Arabia's willingness to join in with the BRICS nations and also allow their oil to be purchased outside the US dollar, that's the death knell for the dollar. And I talked about this last summer in Twitter Spaces. So it will be a gradual, not an overnight, like boom, sudden the dollar just collapses. Okay. It will be it's been a slow dissolving erosion of the buying power of the dollar. Even if the dollar were to go up at contract value higher, the purchasing power of it won't remain the same. And it doesn't make sense for someone that's new. There's like, it doesn't make sense. Just look at what you're doing right now. When you go to the store, when you buy groceries, it costs a lot of money. What I used to purchase for me and my family, when I purchase food, I purchase 1 month's worth of normal consumption, and then I replenish my food stores in my pantry. So long-term pantry, and then the average every day, like milk and eggs and stuff like that. My wife will grab that on a week by week basis. But your bill probably is, much more than it has been in the past too. But it costs me about $1,200 to $1,300 to buy the food that we put in for a full month. I have teenagers that still live with me, eat up a whole bunch of stuff, and over the course of a month, every meal. I put dog food into that too, by the way. So it kind of factors that in too. But look at dog food. If you have a pet, we used to spend like